Okay, so we're talking about that Mexico. I'm looking at the orders that I got today. I'm gonna use up, I have one bin of maybe 5 pounds of Mexico that's gonna go out the door. So I'm like, let's roast Mexico. We'll do a low temp roast. So we drank that high temp. Mm-hmm. So at the lower temperature, more of the citrus notes. It's sort of like clementine oranges. Okay. It has this nice, like the thing about clementines is they're not like super. They can be tart, but a lot of times they just have. It's like so easy. Like the citrus in them is not just like, a lemon and a lime. The citrus is so turned up. A regular orange, hit or miss, but clementines, when they're like really, they have that sweetness, and it's almost like it's like watery almost. Like it's really refreshing when they're like. So it has that touch of like citrus in there with. I like to roast it so it has that body is developed in it, and it's not just like super thin. Because that's sort of like creaminess, touch of cocoa, and then light citrus is like so nice. But we'll do that here. One of the things that I just love about coffee roasting is like the huge amount of variance that a person has available to them, like in the roasting process itself. It's like it's the same ingredient, but like how do you? Yeah. Like, do you cook a lot at home at all? Yeah. So it's sort of like when you get your skillet going and you're gonna like make up some food, and you kind of think through like, so like I'm gonna throw the veggies on, but I gotta have like a super hot pan. You're gonna cook it for a real short amount of time. But the pan's got to be so hot so I can get that, and then you're like cooking it and you're mixing it and you're smelling it, and you're all right, cool, like 2 minutes. Versus like I need to keep it low, I need to put the scrambled egg on and just slowly turn it over time. Like it's sort of like that. It's like how do you want this to develop? How do you want to develop the bean? How do you want to develop the flavors? Because at these different development levels, such different flavors come out. Like it's such a different.
So because this is a low temp roast,
yeah,
and you have that clementine in there, that's a really subtle note, of taste.
Yeah,
by putting it in the roaster at a slower temperature, it allows you to taste that subtle flavor that would otherwise be lost at a higher roast temp, because it would pretty much drown out those subtle flavors that you'd be able to taste.
You drown them out, and you actually you lose them. They get burnt up. They go out the chimney, because once you start adding those like roasty notes to it, like those roasted. When you're tasting a nice roasty, like smoky cup of coffee, the cellular body of the bean has been burnt.
Yeah.
That's where that roastiness comes from.
Yeah, that carbon.
Exactly. So when you're drinking that, we burnt the thing itself. And so the first thing to leave, coffee, the green raw coffee, the first thing to leave is acidity. Yeah. So like that citrus note is going to be the first thing to go. So if you roast it rough, if you roast it super long, if you roast it super high, those it doesn't matter what coffee it is, the first thing you're going to start losing is the acidity. Now, a lot of times when you get to this spot where like, okay, it's now this coffee is developed enough and it's drinkable, the first acidity that's present right there is oftentimes not that desirable. So the first acidity that's present can be metallic, or can taste like vegetables, like tomato paste or things like that, where you're kind of like, it's not, I don't like those acidity, like those notes. But then as you develop it a little bit further, you start losing, again, it's the first thing you're losing. So you're losing some of that harshness, and you're balancing it out with some sweetness from the body. And you're kind of like, okay, here, this space of acidity tastes way better than the very beginning. So like, even if you're doing a super light roast, a super low temperature roast, you still have to put a certain amount of time on the development of the bean to get to a spot where that acidity tastes nice. And sometimes it's by balancing it with other flavors, and other times it's just by simply like cooking it for a duration of time that we get to those
the time and temperature. Exactly. It's almost like smoking meats, you know.
Yeah, people said that.
When you're smoking a roast, the longer you smoke it, the more you're just going to taste smoke.
Yeah, like you'll lose
the flavor of the actual meat, as opposed to smoking it just enough so where you could taste that smoky flavor, but then also still have all the juiciness, the juicy, you know, body,
like
the
character
itself,
from the
character of whatever cut of meat
yeah. I think it is a lot like that.
It is a lot like that, yeah.
I haven't ever, you know what, we don't really eat much meat. We don't really eat meat. So, like, I'm always, like, comparing it to vegetables, but, like, I'll hang out with my brother-in-law, a couple brother-in-laws who they have the smokers, and they just, whenever they hear me talking about roasting, they're just like, it's the same as the smoker. I'm like, all right, I think I'd probably get into that. The funny thing is, like, I actually really like cooking meat. Like, if we're making a big family gathering, I will enjoy, like, cooking meat with it. I like cooking food, you know, like, it's pretty, you know, what's funny is, I think, like, roasting a marshmallow is one of the most similar things to roasting coffee, and that, like, so you got open flame, you've got this marshmallow, and, like, the way that so, like, development would be, is the inside of that marshmallow, is it heated up? Is it soft? Is it gooey? Is it still hard? And what's so the difference between what the outside of the marshmallow and the inside of the marshmallow is when I'm saying, like, the development of the bean, I'm talking about, like, is the inside of this bean cooked, or is it still that raw, green, woody flavor? You know what I mean?
You hit the nail right in the head for me, because my fiance, when you talk about marshmallows, she hates when people turn the outside of a marshmallow black.
Yes, dude.
She won't eat it.
She won't eat it.
She don't like it.
She doesn't like high temp roast.
So the outside of the marshmallow has to be yellow.
Yeah.
But the inside still has to be gooey. So you have to do it.
That's it, dude.
You have to turn it. You have to do it in such a way to where you get that inside melted without burning the outside.
Burn the outside. That's it, man. That's it, dude.
So I was like, I know exactly what you
know what I'm talking about.
That's how she is with her marshmallows.
Dude, it's so great. I mean, it's like, and so if a person, like, will sit in front of a fire and, like, sit there and, like, really dial it in and think about, like, that inside and the outside and, like, how, and then, like, manage the stick and the marshmallow where they're on the flames and all that stuff. That is, like, there's a roaster right there. That person needs to be behind a coffee roaster making some coffee. It is, like, that should be, like, my job application is, like,
how do you roast your marshmallow?
Fire. It's like, let's roast some marshmallows, dude.
A pre-screening.
Exactly. Like, if you can't roast a marshmallow, that's fine. You can work here, but you can't roast. Yeah, dude. All right. So you can see. So this now, the Maillard reaction has begun. So think about that marshmallow when it begins to take on color. It's not just puffing up. It's actually, like, taking on some browning. So we've gone from a green raw seed to now we got, like, it's taking on this yellow, orange. It's going to turn to light brown, you know, right in front of our eyes here. I'm going to open up the airflow a little bit. So when you open up airflow, you're speeding up the air that's moving in the drum. Okay, so as that air, the speed is moving, that's how we're developing. You develop beans by moisture. The moisture inside of the bean is what's passing heat from the outside to the inside. So you heat up the moisture on the outside, heat up that moisture next to it, so you're moving that heat from the outside to the inside. Well, airflow has a huge part to do with that. So if you have, like, a ton of airflow, you are just blasting that bean with heat. And you're going to transfer that heat really fast. Now you can roast stuff too fast. Like you'll mess your beans up if you roast them too fast. So the thing is though, because it's a low temp roast, I need to transfer my heat in a shorter amount of time than if I was doing a long roast, a higher temp roast. I have so much more time available to me, so I don't need as much airflow. I can pull the airflow back, let it slowly push that heat in and develop it as we go. Where something like this, I'm going, we're about 9 minutes in. I probably have like 2.5 minutes before I'm going to be done with this roast. So now I'm thinking, what is my environmental temperature? How fast is that temperature moving across the bean? How is the bean going to take on the heat? And like, I'm desiring it to get to the acidity that I like in this amount of time that I know I have, Yeah. So it's kind of this like, it's this moving, living thing that you're like trying to interact with. And like,
it's almost like a dance.
Yeah, dude. It's totally a dance.
It's a dance.
Totally a dance. We're dancing. These beans and we're dancing.
Yeah,
so you can even see here now we're and they are just on the cusp of first crack, which you'll see them in the cooling or like in this dryer. You're gonna watch them pop. You can hear them crack right now.
Yeah, they went from like a yellow to a nice brown.
Yeah. So
when
this
first started, it was exactly.
Yeah. So now we're at a first. So I'm gonna just pop the air open just a little bit more.
You can hear the
cracking. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna pull it. I open up the airflow. I'm going to pull my flame down and we're going to like ease through. So we're 10 minutes in, first crack. I think we're going to try to go, I doubt I'm going to make it 2 minutes into this final phase here, but I'm just going to pull my temperature, the flame setting back and let these things coast out. So you can hear the sound difference, right? You hear that change?
Yeah.
That has to do with how much energy is being pushed. How much energy is pushed into this? How are the beans taking on that heat? You can see their texture and their color continues to change. Like, look at that; those are looking really nice right there. So we're about a minute into development here. We're at 390. So I think we're gonna try to. And we're dropping, our environmental temperature is decreasing because I pulled my air back. I pulled my flame back so much. Yeah. Opened up my air. So we're kind of emptying out the energy that's dormant inside of here. All the beans are holding a ton of energy and like we're letting everything, we're just cooking it. We're trying to get time on this thing. So 11:15. So this is kind of, I know I'm getting close to the end. So this is when I start to smell it, And I'm looking for certain flavors to not be there, and I'm looking for certain flavors to appear. And it's not exactly like a 1-to-1 in terms of like the flavor. So the flavor that I'm smelling isn't exactly what it's going to taste like, but you have these notes, these things that you can smell that oh, if those notes are there, I don't like it. I never like the coffee, how it tastes when it has that astringent smell to it, or there's certain notes that you're like, that's what I'm looking for. Like there's some coffees that have crazy fruity notes to it. I'm gonna just hit this real quick. Have like super crazy fruity notes to it, and they will pop up out of nowhere. It's like smelling good, and it just goes whoosh. And you're like, there it is, there's the fruit, and so you just drop it right there, and like
you're waiting for that release.
Exactly. So you gotta, I don't know, like, again, how we have formed the way that we roast is so oriented to the specific batch. And it's like, it's like a method of heat and air combined with mass and time. That's like, here's the approach. And then as you get to the end, you're really paying attention. Like, this is a 396 roast, all right? That was my finished roast temperature. It could have been a 401. They're all low temp. They're both low temp, but this specific batch was doing that thing I'm looking for at 396. That had to do with 15 pounds. That had to do with how we approach the heat. When did we open up the airflow? Versus if I had 5 pounds less in the roaster.
Yeah.
Or like, and I was saying, okay, like, how long of time do we have between this batch that we just did and the next batch? Okay.
Yeah.
That is like the roaster acts different.
I could see what you mean though now.
Yeah.
By watching you do this, and when you're talking about the quality.
Yeah.
Because you're to get exactly what you want, it takes a lot of human interaction.
Yeah.
To where if this was all automated and it was just
there's no interaction.
There's no interaction, so the machine isn't gonna pick up on when those notes and the smells started popping out.
That's exactly right.
So
it'll roast, fine,
but you're not gonna get that same quality that human interaction.
Yes. Yeah, the human touch.
That human touch gives you that extra.
Very nuanced.
Yeah, and then to my, like, I'll talk with other, I'll chat with a lot of roasters, and they'll be, they go off of profiles, they're roasting a little bit differently. Well, they're roasting very differently from how we're roasting, and the skill set that you gain by paying attention. I'm not following a profile, I'm following an approach. Like, there's an approach to roasting this bean that I know from roasting it a bunch. And then you dial in the skill of an approach versus the skill of hitting a profile. So, like, if I had this on a profile and I'm just trying to hit that profile, I don't have any wiggle room. There's no, and then if I make a mistake, the only changes that you end up making in production are mistakes, and then you're bummed because you're like, oh man, I screwed this up, or it feels like you screwed it up, or whatever. Where, like, every roast that I'm doing here, I'm like, I'm trying to be attention, like, pay attention, be intentional, like, have focus to what it is. And that, when you go hundreds and when you go thousands of batches in, you are having this dance with the beans. You have this relation to it that you have, like, a completely different skill set of roasting than, like, what a machine. Sure, I can program a machine. I can say, like, roast it in this way, and it'll just kick it out. It will be fine. But if you're trying to make the best
batch every time,
it's just a different thing.
It's going to be a different. Yeah, it's going to be different than a machine.
And then it, for us, it kind of became like, all right, well, how do I am production roasting. We do have customers who, they don't want, like, experimental roast. They don't want me to be like, I don't know, I'll do this one for 24 minutes roasting, and last one I did for 10 minutes. Like, people don't want that, which I totally am like, okay, I get that. I'm not trying to be experimental. I'm trying to make the best. So I will have, like, things I want to try, or hunches. Like, I think I can do this. I'm going to try it this way. And, it's not like it's a free-for-all, do whatever. But at the same time, like, how can I find a way to communicate to my customers? It's not the same every time. But also, like,
the ultimate outcome, though, is, like, if you have a certain bean, and you're trying to get a certain taste out of this particular bean, you're aiming for that particular taste, that outcome. But the adventure, the journey between the raw bean to that taste is going to be a little different every single time.
Yes.
But what you're doing is your goal is the end quality, the end taste.
Absolutely. And totally. And then it's funny because, like, right to that, as I get to know a bean really well, I know how I want it. I'm like, I'm not experimenting much by the end. By the time I
know what taste you're going for,
and then the batches will look similar, but there's still difference. There's still nuance. But, like, I'm honed into, like, I love this bean presented in this way, and I figured it out after all of this, like, slow searching, and then so I'm like, bam, there it is, got it. And then I'm like, yeah, that's how we're gonna roast this bean. So totally, dude. I love that you just inherently get it. you just get it
naturally. A lot of this comes natural to me because I've worked in industrial manufacturing.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of machine operating for 15 years, and I'm actually going back to school to get certifications.
Okay.
for machine programming and automation.
Really?
And operating. So when
That's
you're doing this, it really speaks to me because you could have two machines that are set up exactly the same, but because there's so many variables, like, you know, one machine could have 1,000 different components that go into it.
Yeah.
And you could have the same exact copies of these two machines with the same 1,000 components. But because, you know, this machine, you know, had this tolerance, and that machine had this tolerance, and on this machine, this part got milled on the high end of the tolerance, and on this machine, that part got milled on the low end of the tolerance spectrum. Even though these machines are exactly the same, to get the same outcome, operator is gonna operate them just slightly, just very, very slightly differently. Yeah. Basically, each machine has its own personality.
Yeah, dude.
And two machines could be exactly the same, but operate just slightly differently because they each have their, because of the many, many, many components that go into it, and the variables, and because of the tolerances for every single one of those components. They're their own character. They have their own character.
Yeah,
they have their own personalities. And you don't understand those personalities as an operator until you've worked with the machine for so long, and you start to dance with the machine because you start as an operator, you start speaking the language of that machine. You pick up on the little characteristics that, okay, this machine likes running at this, it likes producing this good quality at this speed and at this temperature. And this other machine, which is the same exact machine to produce that same quality, on this one,
you gotta go.
It's a little different on the speed and a little different on the temperature, but it'll give you the same outcome. And so,
dude.
That's why, like, when you're explaining it to me, I'm like, man, I understand. So
you totally get what I'm saying. Dude. You've been doing it.
I've been doing that.
I've been doing it. You're going back to school. For program, like to kind of
industrial manufacturing automation. Automation, but I'm not. So I'm getting my automation certifications. But I'm actually going to continue to do mechanical certifications and electrical certifications. So basically, kind of like what I'm getting at is almost kind of becoming like a millwright. To where, like, the guy who built this machine, probably easily had the qualifications to be a millwright. And millwrights, it's a very specialized trade. These are guys that could go in and tear down entire machines, huge machines, tear them down and move them. And put them back together in a different facility or a different location. And these are the guys they're the guys responsible for hooking it all up together and using calibration tools and equipment to have it hooked up exactly perfect. To where this motor has to be in alignment at the exact alignment, with the exact amperage, with the exact amount of power going to it. And that's a millwright. So the guy who made this could probably have easily been a millwright.
That caliber.
Because those are they're like fabricators almost. These are guys there's guys that could operate, systems or machines, and then there's guys that could build them from scratch. And those are millwrights.
Millwrights are the guys that build it from scratch.
These are guys that could build machines.
So cool, man. See, I kind of feel like the pinnacle of machine. I love when the combo of like a machine that doesn't have a brain combined with a human who has the combo.
The best of both worlds.
That's what I'm like. And I know that's like industrial age and we're like way beyond that, but I kind of feel like that's like this sweet spot of like human intelligence and what we bring to the table, and like the best part of a machine where it's kind of like when you're driving a car, but it's like a manual and there's no brain, there's no like computer, you're just driving this manual and you have a full control over what's happening. That's what I love about like this machine is just like totally manual. I just get to like, control. But that combo, I feel like you learn the personality of the machine. You're like working together to like make a thing. Where I've like really steered clear of roasting automation and stuff.
Yeah, dial it or reel it in from being so much automatic and more manual controls than electrical controls.
Yeah,
because those manual controls allow you to be very precision.
Yeah,
very.
Well, and it
gives you more control,
and it gives you, as the operator, there's like a certain responsibility that's on you. Where when we like hand our responsibility of operating over to just automation, we just check out. Yeah. We're just like, I don't know, like we aren't even there.
Yeah.
Where when it's saying like this thing will, like in my case, this thing's gonna burn. This stuff isn't gonna get cooked. It's gonna taste horrible. You're gonna waste all of this if you aren't paying attention. Then you're like, oh crap, I gotta pay attention. Yeah. Where if it's just like everything's dialed in, I push a button, it starts, it runs a program, it drops.
Exactly. I think you made a dead on point. There's when everything's electrical and everything's automated.
Yeah.
You turn it on and you walk away.
Yeah.
To whereas when it's more manual controls, manual machinery.
Yes.
You're there the whole time. You're present.
Yes, dude.
And your presence, being there the whole time during the whole process, gives you that ability to jump in. And influence,
it.
Give it more, give it less.
And that's where I'm like, that's
to give it exactly what you want on the outcome.
That's the beauty of it. When a person is being asked, like, put your brain into this, put your effort, like, focus on what you're doing here, be present to it. And I don't know how it works in like all manufacturing, but I do know with coffee, I can tell you for sure it makes a difference.
Yeah, like being present, being there the whole process.
And when you're like putting your heart into the thing and you love what you're doing, you're paying attention and you're having this interaction, you get to know the beans, your roaster. It's like what you make is so different from when you show up and you push a button and it vacuums the beans up to here, you push a button start, and it's like, all right, it's roasting. I'm going to go, I don't know, check my email or whatever it is, dude.
And then, you come back and that whole batch could be off.
Yeah.
You don't even know it could go anywhere from good to bad.
Yeah, dude.
And you don't know until it's done.
And it's like easier. I get that it's easier. I understand, like, sure, a person doesn't have to sit there and roast. Like, it's way easier. But, like, are we going for the easiest or are we going for the best?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just, and that's where I'm grateful that within coffee, you can say, I want to go for the best, and that trail is going to lead you to a different space, and that pursuit, you're going to end with a different product on the shelf. Mm-hmm. And if you just keep holding on to that, it forms like when we started, I never thought to myself, what I'm trying to do is focus on the thing that I do right now. It was never, that wasn't the concept. The concept was, I want to make the best coffee I can make. I want to do right I want to do justice to the coffee. I want to give this thing its due and make it the best. And when I pursued that end, it got me to the spot of using finish roast temp, focusing on every batch. We're like, an entire orientation of a coffee company could be about how do I make dollars.
Yeah.
That pursuit is gonna lead to.
It's gonna take away a lot from.
Yeah, and you'll make a completely different operation. You make a completely different purchasing on where do your beans come from. Completely different choices on where your coffee is going to. How do we bag it up? What do we do? What are we using? Like all of those things get filled out to a different end, and like. Some people will think that we're being like kitschy or something by having finish roast temps. And it's like, or like, oh, every batch is unique. And like, it was this like, we're like little snowflakes. Like that wasn't where it came from. This came from like seriously being like, I am not going to waver from pursuing how do we do this thing the best while holding the values of caring for people and caring for the earth. And what does that turn into? And it's like, this is where it led us, and it actually is this like very like solid spot to be able to stand
it's the serious and professional pursuit of quality. And
it leads in some totally different directions where like the industry of being like the things that the industry as a whole sort of talks about and values and how we generally do operations. I know that they value this stuff. I know that they value quality. You know what I mean? But so much of it has gone towards automation because they're just thinking, well, let's just make this easier or whatever. I mean,
you can make more money.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and it's not like it's like all of us coffee people are like rolling in money. So I can see why they're like, hey, let's try to figure out a way to how to make it profitable because it's not easy. It's a pretty cutthroat industry on margins and on. So I get why we got to where we are, but as like where we're at, where I'm saying like, oh, I got to buy another roaster. I need to get something twice this size, you know? And it's like, my only choice is to buy some old roaster because all the new roasters are like all automated. They're all digital. They're all like, when you turn the flame, you aren't moving an actual control dial. It's like a volume switch on a car where you're like, doop, 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 doop. There's no, where for me, and I know that this isn't some like special ability. What you can tell when you move this dial, when you have beans in here or not, but like you can feel the resistance. You can feel like you heard the change in that drum when I pulled the heat back.
Yeah, the machine talks to you.
It just totally
it speaks to you.
And like if you're controlling by a wire, I can't feel.
Yeah, there's no dance.
Yeah, dude.
There's no dance.
Yeah, it's like dancing on a video game. You know, it's like that's not fun, man. Like, you know.
Yeah, you know that's a good analogy. Like. Dancing on a video game as opposed to dancing.
Actually dancing. Yeah, dude. It's real, dude. It's real. All right, George, what do you think, man?
Good.
We set, brother?
I think it's a wrap.
That's a wrap, dude.
All right.
Dude.